All right, podcast. I think there might be some ads at the beginning, so I'm going to just hum for a little while. Yo, what's going on? It is 1 p.m. here in Crystal Lake, Illinois. It means it's time for another live stream. Today is Monday, March 10th. 2025. Today we're going to do another shoe unboxing. I feel like it's not necessarily race season as far as like shoes go, but I am catching up on a lot of race product lately. So I've got some another pair of race shoes to unbox today. Plus, we unboxed a lot of shoes last time that I didn't get a chance to add to the shoe sheet. So we will do that today. And I feel like that's all we got on the agenda, unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about. But before we get to any of that, let's say hi to everyone listening on the audio-only version on the podcast. Guys, the weather in Crystal Lake is gorgeous. I didn't have a chance to go on my run yet this morning. I maybe would have had time, but I knew it was going to be like in the 60s if I pushed it to the afternoon. So I think I'm going to go run in shorts and a t-shirt today. I might be able to do it. I did have to go pick up packages and I had to run some errands. So like it is nice and it's going to get nicer. Hopefully when you're listening to this, it's just gorgeous weather out. And for everyone else watching this later, but not live, this is the number one place for you to hear about weather that has already occurred. Because, you know, sometimes we talk about weather that's happening or about to happen, but by the time you guys get to it, it's all news. I haven't thought about that until just today, just now. So sorry about that. But hopefully you still find like the running conversation and the running adjacent conversation entertaining. Welcome to you guys. All right, let's see who we got in the chat here. JC's here. He's one of many who got the New York City rejection last week. I feel like, did I go on a rant last time about the record number of applications, which I always read to mean the record number of rejections? So I don't know. Sorry to hear about that, JC. And Calvin got in 14 this weekend. Legs are beat. Super Blast V1 is fun, but hard on the body. You think the Super Blast version 1's hard on the body? It is more firm than Super Blast version 2. I think I prefer Super Blast version 1. Super Blast version 2 is a more comfortable shoe for sure. And Brian says, this is the number one podcast here about yesterday's traffic. We don't talk about traffic too much here. You know, here's the thing. There's many reasons why I don't really drive all that much. I drive all the time. I live in the suburbs, but I don't drive like commute drive. But when I did have to commute for work, I wasn't really living, I didn't have to drive far. So like, I didn't drive for work. I took the bus. So like, I never really knew the highways. And so all the highways in the Chicagoland area have names. Dan Ryan, Stevenson, Kennedy, Ike, after Eisenhower. And it took me a long time to figure out what they are. And even now, when people are like, oh, there's traffic at the Dan Ryan, I'm not sure what they mean, to be honest with you. It's kind of like when people tell me about the suburbs out here. When I went on that trip to Morocco, I met a lot of people and be like, oh, what part of Chicago are you from? And I'm like, I'm in the far suburbs. Here's where I am. And they're like, oh, yeah, I used to live in such and such. I used to live in Deerfield. And my eyes would just glaze over because I don't know if that's close or far or what. All right. Vanessa wants to know, what editing software do you use? I want to relearn how to edit, but it's been over 20 years. I used to know Final Cut Pro. I use Final Cut Pro. I learned on Final Cut Pro maybe 2017, I think. Right around there. And there have been changes over the years. It's gotten better as far as being able to use it, but it's still pretty much the same. And I learned from Adobe Premiere Pro, and so there were differences, but the concepts were also the same. So it's like, I feel like once you figure out a nonlinear video editor, you can kind of pick the rest of them up pretty easy. So I feel like it should be good. All right. Calvin's saying the audio is cutting out. Let me see what we got here. Audio. I think the audio should be fine. Let me turn off the automatically adjusting the mic volume. Does that help? All right. Some of you guys are having problems with audio. So I turned off auto adjust the audio. So hopefully that works. Okay. And Mark's getting some weird blips 2 times now. Well, I did have to redo this entire audio setup because I filmed a different video at this table and I had to redo a lot of things or change some stuff out. So hopefully I didn't ruin it. It wasn't ever great, but I can't afford to go less than the not great that it was. So hopefully it's okay. Calvin's saying it's a BAA wiring in. They're hijacking the signal. Okay. Edgar, the hobby jogger, wants to know if there's going to be Boston Marathon Kapoozie Run Club events. Yes, there will be. I mean, last year we did something with Rabbit. We have similar plans for this year. I don't have anything that I can like announce yet, but the day before the race in the morning, I feel like how it's going to go is how it normally goes, or not normally, how it's been going for the past few years now. On Newberry Street, I'll be doing an event this year with Rabbit. I've done events with Rabbit, I think a few years now. They've been a great partner. They've been great hosts. Next door is usually ASICS. Believe in the Run usually does an event with them. Further down the street is usually Tracksmith. There's usually an event. It's all kind of happening at the same time. It's all Sunday, the day before the race. So, yeah. But more details will be coming somewhat soon. But I don't have anything to announce yet. I will kind of soon. That reminds me. I have to do some photography. I got to shoot some pictures of things to get ready for that announcement date. So that's a good reminder. Thank you. Elias wants to know, how long does it take for you to create a video from setup, filming to editing? So I get this kind of question a lot, and it depends on the video. And it also depends on what the subject of the video is, right? So there's types of video that I do. I do mainly 2 types these days, maybe 3. Running shoe videos and then race travel videos. Now, sometimes I'm within that race travel video category. There's stuff that I'm traveling to race for. There's something that I'm traveling to watch the race. And there's other times where it's not travel, it's just a race. So there's like a couple of like subsets of videos. Those are a little bit more variable in terms of how long it takes because it depends on how far I traveled, whether it's my first time, things like that. But for shoe review videos, it's a little bit more consistent. But then again, the amount of time I spend on, say, a carbon plated racer is going to be different than I spend on a daily trainer, is going to be different than I spend on a shoe that maybe I don't like so much, or that I don't think is going to be that popular and maybe doesn't need as much time for me to do. And so I'd say on average, yesterday I filmed the B-roll, the product shots for the Hoka Cielo X1 2.0. That took me about 40 minutes to film just the shoes. Sitting down to film the talking portion will end up with usually about 30 minutes of recorded video that usually takes about 45 minutes total to do. And then there's the running footage. And so that also takes time to film. It's kind of hard to count that or keep track of it too closely because part of it is I'm just running. And sometimes I'm running as part of a training plan series that I'm doing. And sometimes I'm just running for fun. And so, but generally, however long it takes me to run the 20 or so miles that I typically run in before I put out a shoe review. And then the last part is the editing. The editing, again, it depends on how complicated I want to make the edit. Typically, I want to make the edits a little bit more complicated for fast shoes because they're more exciting. And for daily trainers, maybe not as exciting. And so the edit is a little bit more straightforward, but it probably takes about an hour to go through editing the talking portion together. And then putting the B-roll on top of it all probably takes another hour and a half. So I don't know what the math is on all that. Maybe 3 hours of studio time and editing time, and then however much time it takes to edit to film the running footage. So there's that. And then usually from each shoe, there's a reel that goes out that gets made too. So there's additional time and stuff like that. But yeah, that's about what it takes for a shoe review video, I think. All right. Mark Peterson has a running shoe question of the day. He says, as most Vaporfly 1 and 2 racer, as a mostly Vaporfly 1 and 2 racer, does anyone else find that you can fit in an Alphafly a half size down from the Vapor? Or does it just seem that does it seem that way because of the knit upper? I have not found that to be the case at all. I go with the same size for Vaporflies and Alphaflies. And like I guess, did all Alphaflies always have knit? Where's my version 1? Yeah, I guess they all did. Here's my version 1 that I have, which this Tiger one I think is one of the better Vaporfly 1 colorways ever made. They're all knit, yeah. I don't know. I always felt like the Alphafly toes on the big toe always just destroyed my big toenail. Right at the nail bed, like where the toe nail starts. Down there was just something about the way it folded that just creased right on top of that spot. And I don't know. I can't imagine sizing down in it. So, yeah. All right. Scuba-san had something earlier where he found a pair of Alphafly 4s for his wife at a ridiculously cheap price. She went out for a run and she came back. And the verdict is, wife loves Adidas Adios Pro 4, which is not a surprise. It's a great shoe. I feel like that's one of those shoes where a lot of people will like it. Arthur Freita says, since you mentioned the Cielo X1 2.0, how are you liking it? That shoe is great. I love it. It reminds me of the Endorphin Elite 1. I haven't tried the Endorphin Elite 2 yet, but the foam in there is reminiscent. The foam also, and I hesitate to make this connection because I think geometry makes a huge difference. So you'll see as a theme in the next handful of videos that I put out that stack height. I've been saying stack height is a misleading metric to use to evaluate shoes for years. It's even more so now. I also feel like just looking at the foam is also misleading because geometry makes a difference. And especially when you're talking about racing shoes, I think plate thickness and plate position also makes it, like how angled the plate is inside the shoe, makes a huge difference. But I will say that I think that the Cielo X1 2.0 foam, like if we took like a cube of it, like a centimeter cubed, I think it's probably somewhat similar to the foam that's in the Metaspeed Sky Paris. That foam that's like, this is really comfortable, it's really light, it's really energetic, and it's a little bit on the soft side. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about the Cielo X1 2.0. It still feels like a Cielo X1, which I think is great. I like the Cielo X1 version 1, I guess 1.0. I like that one a lot. So it still has that feel, but it's much lighter. It's much more racing. It's a really good shoe. I like it a lot. I think Hoka finally has a shoe that's like a tier 1 level shoe for race shoes. All right, speaking of that, let's just get to the shoe weights because I do have some weights for that shoe. Let me add these to the screen so you guys could see it. And I still, of course, haven't had a chance to set up my scenes yet. So here we go. All right, so we unboxed 3 shoes last time, and I guess we have a 4th, Cielo X1 2.0, that we got to go through and do the weights for. Now, because I already ran in the Cielo X1, I did take some pictures of it so we can have those weights, but I couldn't do it with you guys, like in front of you guys. So let me pull up my phone and take a look at it. So the Cielo X1 2.0, it's light. It's not featherweight, but it's light. 7.4 ounces. This is too small. Let me make it bigger. There we go. 7.4 ounces and 212 grams. So it's an interesting weight. It's definitely a lot lighter than the previous version of that shoe. All right. Let me get out my scale. And we'll try weighing some of these other shoes as well before I have to start running in those. All right. So, by the way, guys, I've been hearing some stuff about, and I'm not repeating rumors. I guess they might be rumors. They are unverified and I guess anonymous persons with knowledge statements that have been reported by Sarah Lord. Or no, was it? No, in the Fast Woman newsletter, there was a link to an article from a San Diego paper that talked about the race and why road championships had to be moved, and then Canadian Running also had a really good article about it with some kind of insider information. And it seems like the big deal was that there wasn't enough money to put on the race. And I think the San Diego, I think this was according to, I think both articles referenced it, but there wasn't enough people that signed up for the races, the mass participation races, which is where they thought they would get a lot of revenue to cover the costs of putting on this race. And so I think it was Canadian Running reported that they needed to have like 10,000 to 15,000 participants across the 1 mile, the 5K, and the half marathon in order to make the race work. And they only had at this point 1,000 signups, which is quite a bit short. Because if you think about it, let's say it's $50 a race at 10,000 a head. What's that? That's 500. They're short of 500,000. Is that right? Am I doing the math right? I need to get a calculator. I'm so bad at math these days. My younger daughter would be upset at me, but calculator. Because I think this makes a difference. $50 times 10,000. Yeah, that's $500,000. So they're $500,000 short of where they thought they would be. And I think that's where people were talking about, like, they never said which direction they were wanting the money, but they said that someone wanted more money and the other parties wouldn't give it. And so they couldn't do it. Yeah. So they were short. I mean, maybe $50 per race sign up is not the accurate price for running a mile, but I don't know. It was enough that it was a deal breaker. But I just still think that even then, it's really weird that they would announce that they were taking it away without having a new person to give it to. All right, let's get back to the sheet because we got these other shoes. We've got the Diadora Gara Carbon V1 2.0. Just kidding. It's just a 2. This is a pretty shoe, by the way. We talked about it already last time, but I love the way that they did the Diadora logo. Which, by the way, remember you guys were saying like the Diadora logo, especially if you cover this part, looks like a Brooks logo. When I reviewed that Anta shoe definitely looks like a Brooks logo. But anyway, here we go. Let's get this Diadora on the scale. Oh, interesting. Oh, I hate it when it's not the same number 2 times in a row. Okay. And we'll go to grams. So the Diadora is 7.2 ounces and 206 grams. So just a little bit lighter, maybe more than just a little bit, but lighter than the Cielo X1, which I thought was relatively light. Richard Smart says, how does one really know when their shoes are worn out? I think I've heard you say around 300 miles. Different types of shoes or foams have different life expectancy, like a daily trainer versus stability shoe, etc. Thank you. Yeah, those things can make a difference. And so I feel like the more performance-oriented a shoe is, the sharper the drop-off will feel. But let's say you're talking about either a daily trainer or a stability shoe. I use 300 miles as just a general rule of thumb. A lot of my European, especially my British friends, will demand 600 miles or more, which I feel like is very different than my experience. But I've talked to and I haven't talked to you, but I've listened to people like Doctors or Runner talk about like just because the rubber wears away doesn't mean that or because there's still rubber left on the shoe, it doesn't mean that the shoe still has life left. The rate at which the rubber wears through and at which the foam dies is not necessarily the same. And so, there's a variety of different ways to do it. The way I think of it is, other than using 250 to 300 miles as a general rule, the other thing I think about is during your normal training weeks, all of a sudden, even though you're not training any harder or doing any more intense workouts, suddenly your body will just be complaining a little bit. Nothing huge, nothing major, but like, my knee's a little bit tight after that run today, or my feet kind of hurt more than usual. I usually feel it at the back of my heels. I'm like, this just doesn't, it's not as soft. It's not as good as I remember it being. And so those are the signs when all else being equal, suddenly your body doesn't love running as much. That's kind of how I feel like it goes. That's how I know. And so sometimes it's much less than 250 to 300 miles. Sometimes it can be a lot more. But also, I'm of the opinion, I'd rather leave 10 to 20, even 20%, 25% of the life in the shoe than risk an overuse injury because a shoe's foam has died out a little bit earlier. It's just I think in the overall, a cheaper way to run, in my opinion. So, yeah. All right. Let's see. So now we've done the Gara Carbon 2. Let's get the Diadora Cellular on the scale. Here, it's on the floor. Sorry. Now this shoe is a much bigger shoe. It looks like pretty much a stability shoe to me. Feels like a stability shoe. Now stability shoes I think maybe last a little bit longer because they start out more firm. And so yes, those firms also do compress. But you're starting from a position of like, I like it firm to begin with. So if it compresses a little bit, it's kind of okay. So maybe you can get more miles, squeeze more miles out of it that way. All right. So the Diadora Cellula is 9.9 ounces or 282 grams, which I think is a surprise. I thought this would easily surpass 10 ounces based on the way it feels in hand. And then the last shoe that I got is this Gel Cumulus. Now, what was it Martha that was saying something earlier? Martha said, something that the new, let's see, that the new Cumulus was supposed to be more like a Novablast. I will be shocked if that's the case. Sorry, I can't find that original post, Martha, but and I think it was Martha. Sorry if I'm putting words in someone else's mouth, but I feel like the Cumulus. I've never really had confirmation from this. I've run this idea by ASICS before in just some casual conversations, and they're always like, yeah. They never agree or confirm or deny kind of thing. But I've always felt like the Cumulus is intended, maybe it didn't start out that way because the Cumulus has been around longer, but it's intended to go after the Brooks Ghost customer. And so I feel like every year they're trying to mimic what the Ghost offers. And if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't that long ago where the Cumulus, at least for the women, was a 12 millimeter drop shoe. I could be wrong on that, but that's how I remember it. But so if they were to change it a lot to make it more Novablast-like or even Nimbus-like, I think that would be a really big surprise. Okay. So for this one, I'm getting 9.1 ounces and 260 grams. There we go. This one just looks like food to me. The colors on this feel very, both, I guess, like maybe autumnal, but very food-like. It's like a butternut squash soup in a shoe. I don't know. Runna Bean says I misspelled Cumulus. Oh boy. How did I spell it? Oh yeah. Oh, a little dyslexia going on there. I'm not dyslexic. Maybe my fingers are. Okay, so there we go. Thank you for the correction. Martha says, I did say some reviews were comparing it, believe it or not. Not saying it's the same, but good for the same use case. Yes. So I feel like the Cumulus and the Nova Blast, I see what you're saying. I think are the same use case shoe for two very different runners, for people that like very different things. Right. And so I'm trying to think of, I had another good analogy for it the other day. But I just think that like if you don't like Nova Blast like shoes that are like very squishy, very dynamic, not as stable, then I think that like you're gonna like the Cumulus or Cumulus type shoes, and vice versa. If you don't like the Cumulus, which I generally have not liked the Cumulus all that much, although I think it was like Cumulus 25, which I was like, oh, this one's not bad. Maybe it's 25, 24. I don't remember. Before they switched to the kind of the new style that looks like the new Nimbuses. But the last one of that generation, I didn't think was that bad. It's still very much a Cumulus, but I liked it. And so they're just a completely different set of preferences, but trying to do the same thing. That's how I see them. Super Ninja says, have you tried cutting it? It could be cake. You know what I do think I need to do? I think I do need to find a like a cake maker that does that and make some shoes and have cake shoes. I feel like that would be a good mukbang. I think we really need to do that. Maybe that's something that we could figure out. Maybe we could find someone, maybe for the shakeout run in Chicago this year for the marathon. Last year we had a pancake food truck. Maybe we just get a giant Metaspeed cake, shoe cake. Although there was one year that there was Metaspeed cookies. So there was an event where the tech rep for the region was a good baker. She made Metaspeed cookies. They were really good. They were really good cookies. I think she baked them herself. I don't know. I don't think she got them from a bakery. I remember being so surprised about it. Yeah. All right. Eric says, Eliza's called for the unboxing. Okay. I'm going to leave the scale out because this is a shoe. So this is a shoe that I bought myself. A lot of the shoes I've been kind of running in lately are ones that I bought myself because I've been kind of catching up on shoes that brands didn't send me for whatever reason. This one, make sure it's what I think it is. Okay. This one is from Saucony. And for whatever reason, Saucony has stopped sending me shoes. I can't remember the last shoe they sent me. So I went out and bought this. It's one of two shoes, I guess three. I bought the Convaras too. I haven't run in those yet. It's one of, I guess, three shoes that I brought from Saucony recently. This is the Endorphin Elite 2. I guess the nice thing about like not waiting for the brand to send you shoes is that you get to pick the color you want. And so I got this one, which also ends up kind of looking like food somehow. It looks like the kind of cakes that they cut up into really, really small rectangles at the dessert section of an Asian buffet. You guys know what I'm talking about. I think everyone here knows what I'm talking about, right? Weird colors, weird textures. Not really sure what it's going to taste like, but it's something fruity and maybe chocolate. And I feel like that's what we got here. Cakey. This should be cake. This is cake. Should we try? But it is very light and very peculiar. Looks really weird on the bottom. So pretty different. Where did I put my Endorphin Elite 1? Oh, here it is. Endorphin Elite 1, Endorphin Elite 2. Similar look. What's interesting is that Saucony, of all people, is the one that brought this heel back. If they put this on a New Balance, I'd be like, yes. It'd be bringing it back to the 1080 version 10, which I love that weird heel cup. A lot of people didn't like it, so I'm surprised that like any brand has brought it back. But we'll see. We'll see. So, yeah. New Venture says, it's an exciting looking shoe, but I can't get behind the name Increditrun. I agree. Increditrun is really weird. Something else happened recently that I thought was unusual is that, well, I guess it's not that unusual. It's happened. It's not the only time it's happened in the last year or so. The Salomon Aeroglide 3, which is that one on the shoe sheet? Did I weigh it? I think I forgot to weigh it. No, it's not on the sheet, and I don't think I have it. Anyway, the Salomon Aeroglide 3, on the back of that shoe, there's a foam, and it's Energy Foam Plus is what it says printed on the back of the shoe. Now, I got this shoe last summer. I haven't been able to run it until recently. Well, I could have run in it more recently, but I didn't run it until recently because of embargoes. And all the tech sheets, the press release, the website now for the Salomon Aeroglide 3 calls that foam Solomon foam. And I'm like, was that the only trademark that you guys could get? Like you couldn't, I'm guessing they couldn't trademark Energy Foam Plus somehow. And so Solomon foam ended up being the name that they're using, even though it says Energy Foam Plus on the back of the shoe. And so this Increditrun stuff, I mean, why not Power Run HG2 or updated Power Run HG? Are they not using Power Run HG anymore? Or are we still going to see it in the Endorphin Pros as little drop-in inserts? I'm so confused. But I'm very excited about this shoe. Let's get it on the scale. All right. Let me get Saucony. And not to pick on Saucony, but because they're not the only brand that's not sending me shoes these days, but I don't know. And we've talked about it before. I'm trying not to like make it into a thing, but I do worry about that company. But anyway, and I worry if maybe that's the reason why they're not sending out a bunch of shoes. But okay. We got the grams measurement here. It's pretty light for how big this shoe looks, but not as light as I thought it would be. Not when I look at the ounces. I have no idea when I'm looking at grams. So what's interesting is the Diadora Gara Carbon 2 came in at 206 grams, but 7.2 ounces. This shoe also comes in at 206 grams, but when I click it over to ounces, it's 7.3. So rounding, I guess. I'm not really sure. So there we go. All right, time to sort the data. This is the part that always makes me a bit nervous. I've done it a million times, but I still don't love it to do this. Sort sheet by column D. Okay, so Gara Carbon and Endorphin Elite 2 right next to each other, which makes sense. Also the same exact weight. Look at this. SC Pacer 2, Adios Pro 4, Gara Carbon 2, Endorphin Elite 2, all 206 grams. That's pretty wild. Seal X1 2.0, same weight as the Cloudboom Strike. And Cumulus, lighter than the Neo Vista, about the same weight as the Cloud Monster Hyper. Interesting. And then the Duracell, about the same weight as the Nucleo 2. And the Innovate Trailfly, which I still haven't tested yet. And the Supernova Prima. The Supernova Prima, I like that shoe. That's a nice one. That's the Supernova Rise that they should have made. But I guess then they wouldn't have had a Prima to go to. All right. That's it for the shoe sheet for today, guys. Now, let's see. What did something say? Someone said something about it that I wanted to go back. Oh, Eliza wants to know how the shoe smells. That's a good question. Oh boy, this is a strong smell. It smells like plastic. It smells like I've never actually stood next to a 3D printer, but if I were to guess what it smells like, if a 3D printer has a paper jam or the equivalent of a paper jam and you opened it up, it would smell like this. It's not, it's very plastic. It's just straight plastic. I feel like this should come with like a no-show warning or something like that. It's a very strong smell. Is that my phone? Sorry about that, guys. Oh, I got a shipment coming, I guess. Yeah, but yeah, does not smell good, but it's very breathable. Yeah, this foam though is squeezably soft. I'll give you that. Speaking of the back of this shoe, Mark Peterson says, I hated that 1080. I loved that 1080. That was, I'm trying to think. No, that was not the first New Balance shoe that I really enjoyed. The first New Balance shoe I think that I really enjoyed was maybe it was the Beacon was my first like favorite New Balance shoe. Around that time, I was also really enjoying the Zante Pursuit, the one with the blue crystal rubber on the outsole. That one was awesome. Trying to think. Earlier than that, I wasn't really running in a lot of New Balance shoes before that time. Mark says PC load letter. PC load letter. Yeah, Calvin says it smells like hot computer server room plastic. It does. It does. It smells like something's melting. I mean, if it runs good, I'll forgive all sins. But, you know, so far. It does have a nice knit tongue, though, which I like. But it feels like this is the knit tongue that they put on the... where'd it go? Endorphin Pro. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. But it's like the same. It's another knit tongue. Does this and it folds down too. It does the same foldy down thing. This is the kind of tongue design I would expect from a company that's looking to save money. Very interesting. But yeah. I wonder if there's the same exact colorways across these two shoes. But yeah, it's surprising. I mean, not that I love knit. But Saucony has been giving us wild uppers for their race product, like this. Remember this? And then remember the Endorphin Pro 2, 3, with this mermaid business going on with all the holes in the tongue. Yeah, they've been giving us some wildness for a while. And then, to have it then be the Endorphin Pro 3 and then the Endorphin Elite 2 having the same knit tongue seems weird to me. But hopefully I'll like it. If I love it, I won't complain. Yeah, and Eric says Eric didn't like the hard heel on the 1080. So here's the good news, guys. The heel on the back of this is floppy. So like for those of you that like hated the 1080 version 10 heel, this is very different. This is super floppy. There's no structure in it at all, which I like. So maybe this is something that we can all agree on. We'll see. I don't know. Johnny Dodgen says, we're out of sync in the UK and the USA. The clock changes did me wrong. Guess I'm watching later in my life. I'm sorry, Johnny. So you know what's weird is when I was in Morocco, everyone from the US and Canada, it was mostly US and Canada on this trip, got an email from their airline, and we were all kind of flying the same one or two airlines out of Casablanca. Saying that the time of their flight had changed, at least the departure time, but their arrival time and a lot of people were connecting somewhere in Europe would be the same. And what we figured out later on is that in Morocco, because of Ramadan, the clocks change at a certain time in order to make the fasting and the breaking of the fast a little bit easier to deal with. But that doesn't happen in non-Muslim countries, I guess. And so everyone was like, I don't know what time I'm supposed to go to the airport. Because some people, because you know how like when they do clock changes, you do it at like 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock. Some people had like 4 a.m. flights. And so we were like, well, I don't know what time I'm supposed to go to the airport. And what time will it be when I get there? And I don't know. People were really confused. But all the more reason why we all need to get rid of some of these. I mean, I'll accept time changes for religious reasons like that. Totally great with that. But for all the rest of us, especially since we don't all do it internationally at the same time, I'm all for getting rid of them. But I did see a joke somewhere saying that if we're going to keep daylight savings, we should make it so that in the fall you get an extra hour of sleep. And in the spring, instead of losing an hour of sleep, they should put it at the end of the workday so everyone gets to go home from work an hour early. And I was like, I can get with that. That makes sense. That makes sense. Now, someone asked me a question about, I wish there was a way to search my chat here. But so, did someone ask me a question about a New Balance Super Comp? Can you retype that? I wanted to answer that one, but I don't remember what the question is. All right. Misha Menot says, first time catching you live. I've been enjoying your content. Well, welcome, Misha. Thanks for stopping in today. Welcome. Super Injit says, daylight savings time is such a nuisance. I didn't think that today would turn into a rant about daylight savings. I actually feel like my family adjusted to it pretty well. My kids are doing okay. My wife's fine. I'm fine with it. I've been waking up early. I've had all these video projects. So like my sleep schedule has been pretty crazy already anyway. So, yeah. Daniel Burton says, when is your next race? My next, well, hopefully I have a video coming out today, which I'll talk about it. I guess not even that much. So I could talk to you guys a little bit about it now. But to preview what the next video is, I'm going to be working with Runa again. I think I told you guys about that last time. And so I'm going to be signing up for a 5K in New York on June 7th. It's called First to Fast. I think that's what it's called. I don't know what the sign up is, but I'm assuming Runa's going to sign me up for it. But so I'll be doing a 5K on June 5th. I'd like to run a bunch of 5Ks leading up to it. I think I need race practice. Even if I'm just running like thresholdish times and paces, I just want to have more experience in the 5K. I want to have experience, like maybe if I run threshold effort for the first like 2.5 miles, I want practice closing that like last half mile and like really pushing. And so I'm probably just going to try and find a bunch of maybe I'll do a park run. None of them are near me, but I think there's one like an hour and a half away. Maybe I'll do a park run. So I'll be doing some 5Ks. We've got 12 weeks till then. I've got a bunch of travel though, so it's going to be a bit of a mess, but we'll see what we can do. But yeah, and then my next big race is going to be Sydney. So I'll be doing that. Martha says, the next time change is literally the night before New York City Marathon. At least I'll gain rather than lose an hour. Well, there you go. Patrick said that's before New York Marathon every year. Is that true? Guys, New York Marathon is really early this year. I'm on the fence about whether I'm going to go. If I'm going to go to New York Marathon, I either have to miss all the events ahead of time. In other words, all the ways that I can basically finance a trip to New York and get there like the night before the race. Or I have to miss Halloween. Now, my kids are 8 and 13. I feel like there's not a lot of Halloween left. So like I'm really torn about this. Halloween is one of our favorite holidays at this house. So I'm frustrated about that. Matthew Rand said, yes, for New York City this year, I got an extra hour of sleep. It was awesome, but I had to check my alarm over and over. Yeah, that just sounds like that's like a Home Alone style setup for like how you missed your deadlines. I don't know. Arthur Freitest says you should come someday for the Rio Marathon in Rio de Janeiro. So I have a deal or a bet or an agreement with Valerie Mello because she keeps wanting me to come down to Brazil to run a race. And I said, you know what? The Rio Marathon, I'm pretty sure, is an Adidas race. You know what is an Adidas race? The Seoul Marathon. So I said, we need to talk to Adidas and we need to do a cross-cultural exchange, like an exchange student, exchange runner program. I'll go to Brazil and do all the Brazilian things with Tennis Certo. If you come to Korea, and we'll try to figure out Korean stuff together and do the Seoul Marathon. So that's the deal that we tentatively have agreed on. This was after a lot of beers at TRE. Well, a lot of beers on my side. I don't know how many she had. I don't know that she had any, but I had a lot. So I don't know if she takes it seriously, but the offer's out there. The offer's out there. And Arthur confirms it is an Adidas race. So there we go. Richard says, you know what? Do Halloween with the kids. You just said your answer. Not many Halloweens left at their age. I mean, that's where I'm at. That's kind of where I'm leaning. I've told the New York story a bunch of times. I'm going to be going, hopefully, to watch the World Championships marathon in Tokyo. So, like, I'll have just gone a long distance to see a world-class race. I'll be in Chicago, I think, to watch the Chicago Marathon. Hopefully, I'll be able to get some better start line or other just race access this time. Maybe they'll let me into the press conference this time. So, yeah. So yeah, I'm traveling a lot this year, even though I wanted 2025 to not be a big travel year. I'm traveling a lot. So like if I can end the year with like just clearing stuff off my calendar, especially because I want to spend time with my family, I feel like that's going to be a plus for me. AJ says that SJD is trying to get back on the shoe review train. I hope so. I think his voice was useful and welcome, and Seth and I go way back. So if that's what he wants, and if he's liking it, then I hope he comes back. It'll be good to see him in the space again. I check in on his channel every once in a while just to see what he's up to. Martha says Ko is a victim of his own success. I guess so. I think so. Yeah. It's something I think about a lot. It's like, how much of this travel do I really want to do? I want to do it all. That's the thing. I want to do it all. I really want to do it all. But it's not. There are expenses and costs, and I'm not talking about money, All right. Let's see what else we got in here today. Patrick says, though, for New York, if you miss your alarm, you could just start in the next wave and just be the fastest person there. Yeah, I feel like, I wouldn't do that as a strategy, but it is a nice consolation that, you're not going to completely miss it. Calvin says, I'm not going to New York City Marathon this year, so I won't get FOMO if you don't go. Yeah. Cobalt Blue says, shoot question, does anyone know when the Adidas Adios 9 will be available for purchase? Isn't it available now? Let's take a look at I think it's available at Warring Warehouse, right? I think that's where it's available. Let's take a look at, should we pull up the website? I'm not trying to I'm not like, this is not spawn, but let's see what we got. Yeah, no, Adios Pro 4s and no Adios 9s. They had the Adios 9 a while ago. Am I missing it? Yeah. Let's see the Adidas website. Okay. Adios 9. Maybe it was only available for a limited inventory and now it's gone. I don't see it. I don't see it on here. Yeah, I don't know. It was available for a while and people were like, when are you going to get? What are these, guys? Adizero PR shoes. Does anyone know what these are? What are these? Should I get these? They look, what am I looking? Is this an old shoe or is this like intended to be a, okay, reissue of the iconic low profile runner released in Japan in the 2000s? They were Japan release. They look like Solomon shoes to me. It's EVA midsole. Pair them with a workwear-inspired pant to infuse some sport modernity into a utilitarian look. How are you going to say infuse some sport modernity using a 25-year-old shoe? I don't know who wrote that. But you could add like a sports style into a utilitarian look. But modernity, the 25-year-old shoe, I don't know, maybe I'm picking nits here. But yeah, I don't know what's going on with the Adios. I don't know anything about the Adios. I was gonna buy a pair. I'm kind of waiting till see what happens in Boston, to see if Adidas sends me a pair ahead of Boston. I also don't know about the Boston ahead of Boston. So I haven't heard much about either of those two shoes. Paul Mullock says, shoe question from Co. What are these? Yeah. And Terry says, the Adios 9 is certainly available in the EU. So the Adios 9 was available first in the EU. Then I saw it available on Running Warehouse domestically, or at least in the United States. And then I thought it was just available because Alberto, who's like the head of everything running at Adidas, I follow him on Instagram. He was posting, there was 3 different like race color. There was like a number on the back of it, like a NASCAR style number on the back. Or I guess maybe for Europe, it would be an F1 style number on the back of them. And so he was posting pictures of those, and I just thought that they were available now. But maybe there was like I don't know why you would do a limited drop for the Adios. Or maybe they're out of them already. Maybe they did a limited drop and or maybe they did the full drop and now they're just not there. Because Adidas will take shoes off the website if they're not available. They won't show you, which I think is a mistake. And maybe they've changed that recently. But I distinctly remember for a while that if a shoe was sold out, it wouldn't show up in search results. Even if you specifically search for like Primex, if it was sold out, you couldn't find it. So maybe that's what's going on here. I don't know. I mean, I guess this is where like I have to do something, because I just ended that sentence with like, I don't know, who knows? But I think the answer is I can know. I gotta figure that out. I'll reach out. I'll reach out to a PR person. Where's my phone? Not right now. I just need to write it down so I don't forget. Sorry. This area is a disaster. I don't know where anything is, because I was doing all sorts of other work. I got an email from Kenzie. Or maybe Matt about Adios 9. It's in the book. All right, we'll do that. And we'll get some answers. Vanessa has a new segment, co-reacts to new stuff on running websites. Should we do that? Is that something we need to do? Okay. You know what? Here's what we'll do. I don't know. Can you guys put links in the chat? You guys should send me stuff. That should be something we could do. But keep it clean. I don't have to preview these before I put them up. I know you guys aren't going to do it, but if other people come here that I don't know, dropping links for me to click on, I'm not going to put that up on the stream. But if you see weird shoes or weird things, you let me know. We can react to it together. All right. Calvin says we can set up a Discord channel. I looked in the Discord the other day, I was in there. I don't think I read some stuff. I didn't reply to anything though. But yeah. Brian says links don't work in the chat, but we can do that in Discord. Okay. Maybe make a separate section on Discord. Weird stuff. Weird SFW stuff. SFW weird stuff. Safe for work weird stuff. So no one gets confused. Paul Public says there's a book. Everyone assumed the to-do list is in a sheet. I don't like to do to-do lists electronically. I love paper to-do lists. If I have an electronic to-do sheet, it becomes just overwhelming. I don't like that. So Johnny says that the Adios 9 feels awesome. It's like a traditional racing flat with all the magic energy return of a modern super shoe foam. So let's end with this. This week, I think Thursday, track season starts for junior high in Illinois. And last week, Girls on the Run started for my younger daughter, who is in 3rd grade now. This is her first year of doing Girls on the Run. So this is fun. I got both girls running right now. Yesterday, I took my daughter. The running stores that are in Crystal Lake, there's 2. I think do a great job of meeting the demands of the local market. They're not my favorite running stores. So we drove because it was on the way to rock climbing. So we went over to Dick Pond Athletics. I think it's in Arlington Heights. It's pretty close to the College of McHenry. No, college. What is it? What's the college that's out there? Algonquin. No, not Algonquin. Arlington Heights. I don't know. I forget the name of it. I want to say Hunter. But anyway, I took her to a running store. And before we did that, we looked at all of my shoes. And I picked out a couple that I knew that I thought she might like. I know she doesn't like the Nova Blast. She doesn't like super squishy shoes. She's had a Nova Blast 4. She's had a pair of Arahis and a pair of Ghost and a pair of 860s. 862 versions ago. She really liked that one. So she kind of likes a little bit more firm. Slight stability is okay with her. She raced in the SC Pacer version 1 for track last year. I didn't put her in spikes yet. And so with that information, I suggested for her the Velocity, the Cloud Surfer 2, and what else did I have out for her? The Adizero SL2. Of those, she didn't like the Velocity Nitro 3. She loves the On Cloud Surfer 2. That might just be because On are super popular for middle-aged girls right now. And she thought the Adizero SL2 was pretty nice. And so for race shoes, I didn't think she would like the SC Pacer V2. It's so different than V1. But I also had her try on a pair of Puma Liberates and the Takumi Sen. She didn't like the Liberates. She loves the Takumi Sen. We went to Dick Pond that had the Cloud Surfer 2, an all-white pair, which is going to get wrecked after like the first day. But we got those. But Dick Pond didn't have any Adidas trainers for her to try on. So we're going to order some of those tonight, I think. And I did let her try on some spikes. They didn't have any middle distance spikes for her that weren't swooshy. And I didn't tell her no Nike, but I also was like, unless you really love those, let's rethink or wait on spikes. And she said she'd wait on the spikes. So we came away with 1 pair of shoes. So that's what she got. So what does Kofuzi get for his daughter? Whatever she likes. And the answer is Cloud Surfer 2s. And then we're going to order some Takumi Sens. And Calvin says, and this is where it comes from. Calvin says she might like the Adios 9. That's where I'm not sure. Will she like the Adios 9 if she didn't like the Liberate but likes the Takumi Sen? And she also really enjoyed the SC Pacer version 1. So that's where I'm at. Adam says, how about the Cyclone or the Sinister? I think she might like the Sinister. It might be too flexible for her. The Cyclone, I don't think that a 13-year-old kid is going to want something foot shaped, especially since the rest of the team is in Nike spikes. So that's where I was just like, I'm not going to suggest that one to her yet. But yeah. So that's where we're at. Adam says, in my opinion, kids should wear the lowest stack, least supportive shoes they can, let their foot muscles develop naturally. Yeah, I was not super thrilled when her favorite shoes last year were like the Arahi and the 860, but I also don't want to like, I want her to listen to her body, you know? So whatever she thought felt great, I want to go with, you know? Raquel says, can we make a flowchart of her shoe preferences? Maybe not. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to run that by her. I already feel like I probably, I don't want to say betrayed confidence, but probably talked about her shoe preferences more than she would have liked anyway. But I'll tell her about it and see what she says. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today. Hopefully I'll have a video for you later today. Assuming I'm going to get approvals for that. And then I'll have another shoe review video coming out somewhat soon. And then hopefully some fun adventures that I'm waiting for approvals on for later in the week. So we got a lot of fun stuff coming up this week. A shoe review. And then we'll have another live stream on Thursday. So hopefully I'll see you then. In the meantime, enjoy the lovely weather out there, guys. Thanks. Bye.